the forces of the Beelzebub retreat to the walls of Babylon. We can confirm
the Marquis of Newcastle's army it's still in fighting array, it looks like.
Well, I can see from this vantage point, I'm now climbing into the lower boughs of a tree. And Julie, I can say that the army of the Royalists has splintered. There are some brave fellows still holding back as a last stand, rear guard, but there are vast mounts of streaming thousands now, streaming back to, as my colleague said, the walls of Babylon, which is York. The roads are clogged. Not everybody can use the road. Many men are now up to the ankles in mud from the moor. They're making slow progress. They are absolutely exhausted. The spirit is broken, and once the ranks break, this is where the true horror of war now takes over, as they start to be cut down by Cromwell now, whose tail is high and he's cutting down the fleeing royalists. Julie, the sight is terrible.
It's confused. Where is Rupert? Has he left the field? Has he left the field with his horse? Has he gone over the Pennines? This was one strategy that was given to me should he lose the day. But if he loses York, the King's cause in the north is lost. Does this mean that he will lose the whole civil war?
Julie, the situation has now turned ugly. You're indeed right. Rupert has lost the day, and he's lost a major part of the forces of the King and the North. The North is indeed lost to the King. I think Rupert's resolve broke when his dog Boy was killed. I fear this broke the man's resolve.
I agree with you. It's the thing that losing something that has been with you for so many years and has saved your life on the battlefield is cruelly murdered by the parliamentary forces. Some who believed he was his familiar, his familiar, which is totally untrue, because Rupert was a staunch Calvinist. He would have never dabbled in such a thing. He didn't like strong drink or smoking. He and Goring had many arguments and disagreements about Goring's drinking and smoking.
Julie, I think Gareth has information for us. Gareth, can you hear us? What news, sir? Gareth's voice has failed him at last. I thought he was doing rather well. Julie, I'm going to climb down from this tree now and rejoin you, for I'm becoming weary, and all I can see now is confusion. My own regiment that I've followed this many months now, I can see their ranks have been very thin. I fear there's thousands of men have been lost this day. Can you imagine? Can you give me what do you think the casualties have been?
The casualties on the field of the day will be greatly enhanced by the deaths overnight, with people bleeding to death, and as I said before, the camp followers and the scavengers coming out to dispatch the people who are lightly hurt, who are lying upon the field recovering.
Well, can I interrupt a second, because even though the Royalist Army seems to have, or the bulk of it, fled the field, there's one unit that still seems to be standing. The Marquis of Newcastle, much criticised for having arrived very late on the field, have not yet left the field, and indeed seem to be forming themselves to defend against both the Parliamentary cavalry and pretty much the whole of the Parliament army that is standing around it. And perhaps, or I cannot believe it, we're going to see one of those famous last stands. I can see Lord Aiton. I can see Lord Aiton here now. My lord, a word, sir. Newcastle, is he with you?
No, sir, the Marquis of Newcastle has left the field.
But you have not. Can you tell me why you have not gone with the rest of the army?
No, we would not desert the cause.
But you have no hope. The whole of the army is standing around you. How can you stand against them and claim victory?
We will claim victory, sir. Even if we play with our lives, we will stay here forever. If we die on this field, we will stay here forever. But we will not cede this ground.
And you think your men are with you for this?
Gentlemen, are we standing? Newcastle! Newcastle! Do you get the message?
I get the message, and I can only wish you the best of fortune in whatever you choose to do.
Yeah, we will meet our Maker with open hearts and a clear conscience that we have fought this day.
Thank you, my lord. If only the Marquis was here with you.
It does seem that the Marquis of Newcastle has made many...
Well, I hope you heard that. They seem to be determined to actually stand and make a statement today.
Well, that's
So the question now is, how many were against the whole might of the Parliament army?
Gareth, can you hear me?
I can't, Robin, I can just hear you.
Gareth, the information you've just given us, it surprises us not that the brave Marquis of Newcastle has managed to flee the field and avoided the major explosion on the retreat, and has yet gained the safety of his walls of York. What an inspired leader this man is, and yet he leaves behind a body of men that are still loyal to him and willing to die to the last. How can this man inspire such courage when he has no courage himself? It makes me wonder, sir, even though he's my enemy, I do honour his troops that now stand this field. Julie, what thoughts?
Well, I've heard that Newcastle has made arrangements to flee the country. He has a ship waiting for him.
Indeed, some of his men talked about Holland now, but I think they are determined to make amends for the shame, perhaps, that they think he has brought upon them and upon their cause.
Yes, he has not covered himself with glory. He has become much of a laughing stock at the way he has behaved this day. It may be the best thing for him to leave the country before the wrath of his king turns upon him, who has in the past court-martialed and shot the holders of garrisons who just surrendered to a parliamentary siege force without a shot being blown. So to lose a battle of this magnitude by your tardiness, the king's wrath will be immense.
Well, indeed. And I spoke earlier about how people often boasted of standing to the end, but very rarely did. But perhaps today we're going to see...
Behind you, Gareth, you can see Newcastle's being decimated. The women have gone. There's hand-to-hand fighting.
Indeed, the Scots, I think Fraser's are fallen upon them, and no quarter, no mercy seems to be being given. One of the things in terms of the rules of war is if you refuse an opportunity to surrender, then you refuse all right to mercy and clemency as well.